Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Travis Peterson from OneView. Welcome, Travis.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Where'd you come in from today?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
Nice. Did you drive in this morning?
Last night.
Last night?
Yep.
Cool.
Nice and cold here.
Yeah, welcome.
Glad I missed the snow.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to get started with just a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the career path that brought you to where you are today with OneView?
Absolutely. Yeah, so to be honest, my path started in the banking industry, and then I got into the DMS world, got to know how DMSs affect dealerships, and then I got the opportunity to work for a dealership in Montana and learn how their operation works and get that experience. And all that experience led me up to get to join OneView. Started in 2017 and been a part of guiding the products and services and where we're going these days.
Wow. Do you miss Montana?
Yes.
I was going to say, boy, I used to live in Colorado. Beautiful. I miss it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful state.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people moving there now, Yellowstone.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I don't think I could afford to live there now. But
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about dealerships and going paperless. It seems like when I started my career a long time ago, dealerships were going to go paperless. Dealerships are still not entirely paperless. Yep. What in the heck has taken so long?
Well, honestly, fear and turnover of the employees. In my experience, I know that employee turnover is a huge problem in the automotive industry. And dealerships know that the software that they're using, they may use it for a short period of time or they may use it for a long time, but they've realized that the easiest option is to just print off the paperwork.
Yeah.
They don't know if they'll use that software system again, so everyone just prints it off and will file it away, and they have fear about the retention of the document, and what if the software system's not here? At least we have the paperwork. So employee turnover and the fear of the software system going away are the two big problems that I see.
Well, what are the benefits of storing all your documents digitally? Like, why would a dealership want to do that?
Well, I mean, I would say security is one of those first things that's very important. If you think about your file cabinet has a lock on it. You know, hopefully there's only one key, but the reality is you don't really have a log. You don't keep track of who's accessing those documents on a regular basis. And so when they're in a file cabinet or up in a storage room, organization is the other side. How do you keep them organized? How do you make sure that all those documents don't, get pulled out, used, and not all of them get put back? So that's another thing. As far as a dealership is concerned, they are always worried about the retention. So if it's in paper form, it's easier to just hold on to the paper forever.
Well, you know, when I was in high school, I was a lot technician at a dealership. Fancy name for somebody that drives the cars around and washes them and parks them and moves them for service. And part of my job was also to do something with documents. And honestly, I never understood exactly. I would just take them from one place and stick them in another room, and
Yep.
So finding them would have been a disaster.
and we hope that the people that are doing that care about the papers. You know, at one point in time, you're the guy that is supposed to move them and put them in a different spot, and you hope that you put them in the right spot, or maybe you filed them by the right process, alphabetical or number, and if that's not done right, man, hard time finding them when you need to get them again.
Yeah. Well, when you do have your all of your documents stored digitally, how is that organized, and is it easy to find it? Is it difficult to find it? Like how does that work?
Yeah, obviously we know the computers are pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
So if we rely on the computer to do a lot of the filing, that's going to make the process easier. We're talking relational indexes. We're talking the ability to search by a VIN, part of a VIN, customer's name, values that are important to a general manager. I want to look up a stock number and find all the paperwork for that. You can't do that with your file cabinet, right? You can't walk up to that file cabinet and say, give me all the VIN numbers for X. Well, what they did, or what a lot of dealerships still do, is they'll file them by VIN and they'll file them on the wall. They'll put them into a file cabinet and file them that way. So if you use a document storage system, you actually have the ability to file them digitally and interrelate all those documents together.
Where does that data live? I mean, is that local to the dealership? Is that somewhere else and they're logging in through the internet? And and who has access?
Yeah, great question. I will tell you that a lot of dealerships, when they store their data, you can put it on site at your dealership, but then you have to rely on an IT vendor that's going to come in and back up that data, right? You're going to have hard drives, servers. You're going to have to make sure that that's all taken care of. And that's on you guys at the dealership. And what is best, in our opinion, is to store it in a data provider that is secure. Store it somewhere where that is going to be redundantly backed up and where you're going to be able to make sure that those documents are secure and that everyone can access them wherever they're.
I did want to ask you about security and compliance. I mean, that's a hot topic in just about every department in the dealership. It seems like there's been more rules in the last 3 or 4 years than the 10 that came before it.
Yep.
As far as compliance, how does that work with if you're going to store your all your documents digitally off-site? Does that affect compliance? Is it compliant?
Yeah, it's compliant. You just have to make sure that your document provider, the vendor that you're using, is using a compliant data center, or their data center themselves, if it's hosted privately, is secure. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of the requirements with the FTC or GLBA recent changes that really mandate where is that data going to be stored, and then how are we going to remove that data when the moment comes.
Yeah. Someone
requests you to remove it, you have to have a good, nice process that is going to get that data moved out of the data center.
So you had mentioned that some dealerships, even though they're going to do some digital, document storage, they also use a lot of paper.
Yeah.
To shred or not to shred? I guess that's the question. You don't need to save the paper, do you? I mean, if you're going to store it digitally, you shouldn't. Should you save the paper? Should you definitely not save the paper? What's the best scenario?
Yeah. Well, I want to answer your first question. I would say shred. But unfortunately, don't shred if you don't have a good process in place. You want to make sure that your process for the documents has a way to make sure that everything is captured. If I've got a 20-page repair order, I need to make sure that front and back of those repair orders are captured. I need to make sure that I've got a good quality process in place. Once I know my process is accurate and we've got individuals that are dedicated to capturing those documents, then after a period of time, depending on your state, California has different requirements on physical documents being retained, but then you can file them into boxes. And when that retention time frame comes up, you can get rid of the paperwork and rely on the digital from day one. That's the beauty of that process. If you can make sure that everything is captured on day one, get a nice exception report, get something in place to hold the team accountable to, I closed 2,000 repair orders this month. Did all 2,000 get captured? We don't know that with our file cabinet, but if you use a digital solution, you can keep a good record of those and make sure that everything in a period of time is captured. So when paper retention comes up, 3 months, 9 months, 18 months, whatever that is, you can shred that and retain your physical storage. Keep it smaller, not have a huge footprint of paper that's going up above your body shop or in your parts department just because you're running out of space.
Now, if you mentioned earlier in the interview how a lot of the employees have fear. They have fear surrounding, getting rid of the paper.
Yep.
And so that they might have a digital solution, but they're still printing. They're working from paper, and even though they have the digital storage, they're still saving the paper.
Yeah.
How do you tell dealerships to help their people overcome that fear?
Well, they need to adopt it from the top. They need to adopt it from the top, because if they do that, then they're going to be in a position where they're not asking someone to bring them a copy of the paperwork. Okay, if I ask someone to bring me the paper every time so that I can review a deal or review a repair order, instead, if I rely on it being captured digitally from the top of the dealership, that's going to be the first place, because they're going to know that that's where you expect it to be. But if a dealership knows that you can work from the digital, I always recommend get 2 screens in the dealership. Have one screen be your paperwork that is digital. Again, that digital deal is captured. Don't print it out. Don't add paperwork to it and then scan it back in again.
Yeah.
And then, as you were pointing out in the previous conversation, file that paperwork away again. The whole idea is it's digital. We kind of got to that digital phase where we do digital retailing. Keep all of that deal paperwork in a digital format. And then if we can move into the next step where we're relying on the digital screen, we're making sure that the documents that we're using on a daily basis, I'm going to post a car deal, I'm going to use my screen in front of me to read this digital deal, and I'm going to post the deal. I'm working warranty and I'm looking at the digital screen. I can then have someone that's doing remote warranty in that situation then. Everything is a lot easier and faster.
Well, digital retailing, at the dealership has been growing. More and more digital retail deals.
Yep.
How does it? I mean, I guess it's difficult to use paper in that type of a scenario. But how does digital retail kind of interface and affect having digital document storage? Is it easy?
I think that it is a lot easier because your documents are already there. They're already in the system. I think about it, what's in a deal. I think about that deal historically was 60 to 70 pages. What of that became a digital deal? Maybe a third of it. Okay, so I've got title work, payoff checks. I've got other documents that are captured in the process. I need to make sure that those documents are still captured, but going digital retail, I'd say about a third of the document was reduced.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, do you have any tips or tricks? I mean, for dealerships that want to adopt a fully digital document storage solution, are there any tips or tricks to help them get started that you'd like to share?
Start with one document type. Pick one document type, create a written process for that document type, make sure that we're going to capture the whole thing. I was just at a 20 group, and the dealer has been counting the pages and writing how many front and back there are on the documents for 8 years. Their confidence in the ability to make sure that the system is accurate is still, to this day, they're very confident in. So set a process, write up a process for those documents, make sure that you know how they're flowing to get into the digital system, and then shred the documents when the appropriate time comes, and then move on to your next document type. Pick ones that are easy. I always say service is a great, easy place to start. If I'm doing digital retailing, you need to know where are all the digital software systems that are using to make a digital deal, and help find a way to get some of those other software systems to back up digitally into your system as well.
Interesting. I wanted to ask you a question. You brought it up earlier about a general manager or whoever in the dealership being able to search by VIN, by like look at everything that's taking place with the vehicle by stock number, or look at. I mean, it seems like that would give you the ability to really examine your business, like more than just not having boxes above your body shop, of papers. I mean, are there a lot of interesting facts or interesting trends that they can track? Like, are dealers using it to that aspect as well?
Not yet. So that would be another level that you can take it to. Once you go through the cycle of actually getting a document type scanned and moving into the next level, the idea would be that a dealership could analyze their documents, do repair order reviews using the digital system. We have a dealership that the service manager on Sunday while he's watching some football will do a RO review using the digital pad and looking at the documents on the system. And that's how he can go through, make his comments, send it to an advisor and ask for follow-up, because he's looking at the digital paperwork that was collected all together. He doesn't have to take all those documents home to work on a Sunday while he's watching football.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like if I wanted to see if which one of my advisors was discounting the most, or which one of my advisors was really doing any activity, if it's all on paper, I could never realistically have the time to figure that out. But digitally, I could probably be able to see that Jim is discounting certain work more than the other 3 advisors. Like, I would be able to see those trends, right?
You should be able to. Yeah, and your DMS is going to be tied into that, right? You're going to get the report from the DMS saying that they did a lot of discounting, you got the data on that, but now I want to go look at the actual RO.
Yeah.
If I can just pull it up from my computer and look at it, that's going to save you time.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to go if you wanted to look at 20 ROs over a period of a couple of months, that would be like something that you just wouldn't do, because it wouldn't be feasible in a timely fashion to do that with paper. But
right, you're going to write it down. You're going to try and go back and pull them. You're not going to find all 20 of them.
Yeah.
You're going to get frustrated by that would be a horrible experience.
Wow, so it definitely gives you a really neat perspective and view into your business.
Exactly.
And I imagine maybe in sales you had mentioned like looking by stock number. Like, yep. If I sold you a car 5 years ago and today you want to trade it in, I could probably in real time see your entire service history and the fact that my body shop fixed it 3 times. I would be able to see all of that, right?
Yeah, I remember a used car manager when I was in the dealership. He would look up the vehicle by the VIN number, and he would want to see what kind of estimates? Did we recommend that you get the transmission repaired? Did we recommend something and you declined the repair? He pulled up the service history and would look at that and look at the quote sheets before he would take your car in on trade. It was how a dealership was really able to get that perspective and get those documents at your fingertips, because in the moment when you're going to give a price for that car, got to get that information at your fingertips. And so that's going to really benefit a dealership that way.
Well, I mean, yeah, you would know if they did every single service that that's a car that I want. And maybe if 4 months ago you recommended some major service that they didn't do,
and now I'm trading it in.
Yeah, now you're trading it in. Maybe when we're having the conversation about the number, I say, hey, remember 4 months ago when we recommended you fix your transmission and you didn't do it?
Exactly.
That's why I can't give you full book on the car.
Yep, exactly. And you can get that information easily to the sales manager. Get them so they can see that information. Mm-hmm. Again, imagine you're back in the paper world and you're not adopting that process. You don't get to experience that cool benefit of being able to see that information on demand in the moment when you need to get it.
I mean, I think that was the real limitation of paper across the board, is that there were a lot of things that we would like to see, but we never actually took the time to see them because it just was too much work.
Yep. And
now it seems like if you just take the time to use the digital document storage, you have access to anything that you want to see.
Yep.
And you can compare, how you did last month to this month, this guy to that guy, and that sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and everyone's going to, need to start somewhere. There's top 3 documents that people are going to think about. They're going to think about deals, service, and parts. Mm-hmm. But things expand from that. They start going to accounts payable checks. You've got a general manager that wants to see what you wrote a check for. Separate that out. Give them access to that. They can see the checks. They can find out how much was paid to a vendor. Mm-hmm. Those are all the additional benefits you're going to start going with when you start digitizing all of your documents that you have in the dealership.
Well, it seems like by having that clear record that's easy to see, it probably discourages people from doing fraudulent activities too, because in a paper world where things can get lost, unfortunately criminals probably get away with a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things get lost, so people are able to get away with crime. But if you know that it's totally transparent and easy to see, that would definitely discourage people that might have made bad or poor choices, right?
Yep, discourages the criminal in that case. Yeah. That's right.
Awesome. Well, Travis, is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today?
I will say that as a dealership, I would recommend that it's not going to happen overnight. Mm-hmm. If you're doing digital storage today, great, you can do more. But if you haven't started, start slow. Okay? We're going to get there, but we've been talking about it for decades. So don't expect it to happen overnight. As far as the dealership is concerned, we feel that a good accountable process, something that's going to make your life easier, mm-hmm. happens when everyone from the top down agrees with it. If the dealer is not interested in scanning documents, you've got to understand the why. And then once you can overcome that fear that we were talking about earlier, the software system might go away, or we know that employee turnover as a result is going to be the challenge. Once we know that we've got a good process, it can be translated, people can learn it, mm-hmm. then you'll find a successful system. But don't try and eat the elephant all in one bite.
Yeah.
Try and break it into sizable portions. Start with one document type if you're not doing it today, and figure out an accountable process. Make sure that it works for you. And I think as far as we're concerned, it's a solution that all dealerships need to have. We want to be paperless. Yeah. How are we going to get there?
What's a fair runway for a dealership to set expectations to go from first document to last document? I mean, is that a process of learning that maybe takes 3 months, a year, years?
Years. Yeah. I really think that all documents, your first document might take you 90 days. Your next document might take you another 90 days. But if you were to imagine all the paperwork that is stored inside of a dealership, you've got rooms and file cabinets. So I know a dealership in Colorado, and that dealership, she definitely goes through and finds file cabinets that she has, and she makes sure that those file cabinets are scanned, and they get rid of the file cabinet so they can't store more paper in that in the future. Mm-hmm. And so as a dealership, they want to separate that process and make it easier for them.
Well, thank you for coming today.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing me in.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today my guest has been Travis Peterson from OneView. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one is Over the Curb and Burning Gas.